Thanks, everyone. We're really happy to be here at AWE presenting again on Eighth Wall. We have a short amount of time and a lot of content to get through, so we're going to jump right in. Today in our session, we're going to start off with just a brief overview on the Eighth Wall platform. We're going to take a look also at our Discovery Hub, which is a great place for you as a developer to create public profiles and feature the work that you've created using the platform. We'll look at the project library. It's a great place to get started and look at sample projects and clone them and build from there. And then we're going to spend most of our session here today giving you live demos using the Eighth Wall Cloud Editor. So we're going to do this all in real time. So before we jump into all this content, a couple of quick intros. So as Christine mentioned, my name is Tony Tomarchio, Senior Engineering Manager at the Eighth Wall team at Niantic.
And I'm Rigel Benton, Senior UX Designer at Eighth Wall and Niantic.
And let's jump right in.
Cool. So Eighth Wall, as you might know, is the world's leading platform for WebAR development and content. And we were recently acquired by Niantic, and we're all very excited about that, bringing the real-world metaverse to the web. And we have some cool stuff we can talk about.
So Eighth Wall's mission has really always been to get AR in front of as many people as possible, and that includes you as developers, right, making it as easy as possible to create and publish amazing WebAR experiences. But this also means making this as easy as possible for your customers or your end users so they can consume augmented reality in the easiest way possible. And we really believe the web is the best vehicle for this mechanism. There's no friction. It's just really everybody has a phone in their pocket. Every phone has a browser that has enough capability to run full-on AR experiences in the browser.
And the bread and butter of our product is the Eighth Wall engine, which runs entirely in the browser in JavaScript, and it features several core capabilities here. So the first is world effects. So this is markerless AR. We actually, on the back of all of your badges, as a QR code, you can try out with Captain Doty that we put together around the time of the announcement, which you can try out and see world effects in action for yourself. Instant planar surface tracking, and also absolute scale, which we just released last month. So additionally, we have image targets, both flat and curved. You'll see demos of both world tracking and image targets in a moment. What's really cool about the image targets is they actually work simultaneously with world tracking, and flat and curved image targets also work at the same time within the same scene. So you can be thinking of all the creative ways that you can combine those technologies. And then finally, face effects allow you to both append things to a face, hats, sunglasses. We have over 40 attachment points you can append content to, as well as generate a face mesh at runtime that matches the contours of the end user's face. So you can do cool things like face tattoos and lava shaders and all the fun face effect stuff. And we actually announced this last week at the Lightship Summit. This is a video I'm going to play that showcases Niantic Lightship VPS running in a web browser.
There's supposed to be audio here. So
there's a great
really good music. Just
EDM
pretend.
track, just like thumping in the background, really hyping you up. But yeah, this is all shot in Safari, in and around our office in Palo Alto. Some of these, like the lava shader, are procedural, which means you can walk up to any VPS waste spot and it'll just work.
That'll work.
Cool, thank you.
So as Rigel mentioned, the 8th Wall engine is really at the core of the 8th Wall platform. But in addition to the engine, we provide a broader set of tools and technologies that make it really easy to create, collaborate, and publish WebAR experiences to run directly in your browser. So we've talked about the 8th Wall engine. The next piece of this is the 8th Wall Cloud Editor. So this is our cloud-based IDE that allows you to log into your 8th Wall account, clone projects as starting points, and start uploading 3D models, images, video assets, and start building in real time. We're going to be demoing the Cloud Editor today, but the Cloud Editor has a lot of amazing features like real-time previewing, real-time remote wireless debugging, integrated source control, the ability to connect custom domains if you want to have your own vanity domain in the browser bar, and also push-button CDN publishing, so you can, with the click of a button, deploy your experience to a global CDN that has well over 300 points of presence around the globe. So it's got the development, the core engine, and also all the publishing and hosting capabilities built right in. So the experiences that you can build can be microsites. They can be linked from product QR codes, from email messages, from buttons on a website, but they can also be embedded. So you can run this as an embeddable AR ad. We also sometimes refer to this as Inline Ar, so you can embed it into an existing page, so a user doesn't even have to leave the current page in order to access AR right in the browser. And then I'm going to show you in just a minute, but we're going to focus on our Discovery Hub here today. So once you've built these great experiences, you can create featured project pages on 8thwall.com, and you can send this out to showcase the work you've done. People browsing on 8th Wall can find projects that you've done and then reach out to you to hire you to do work. So it's a really great place to get additional business and learn about what other people have been creating.
But why would you use WebAR over maybe an app-based solution? Well, the first point we like to bring up is that it is massive reach available to you. So you no longer have to worry about phones that support ARKit or AR Core, what year they came out, or whether, of course, they have an app installed that can run this. All you really need is a device that can run JavaScript in a web browser with camera access, and you have mobile WebAR. What's really fun about this fact is that you can actually run 8th Wall in all kinds of places you maybe wouldn't expect. Tesla browsers, Peloton bikes. I've been to Best Buy and just walked around and ran 8th Wall on refrigerators, all kinds of crazy places that you wouldn't expect your web content to just work. But in addition to that, 8th Wall content also runs in VR headsets, AR headsets, and desktop 3D websites. You have the creative freedom and openness of the web. We like to say that we're standing on the shoulders of 30 years of technology development on the web. So things that might be difficult on another platform, like responsive UI, is actually quite easy when you now have access to CSS animations, React, all of the frameworks and technologies that you're used to with web development, Google Analytics to track things even in 3D. Go ahead, use those things, embrace the technology you already have in front of you. And of course, no app required. There is a lot of friction to getting someone to download an app. The user acquisition friction is a major selling point with why WebAR is so easy to access. Because all you need to do, like we've seen, is scan a QR code or open a link from a text message from inside Facebook or Twitter, and you immediately have access to that WebAR scene.
All right, so who's using WebAR with 8th Wall? Lots and lots of brands. So we've had well over 1,700 commercial experiences powered by 8th Wall's technology. You can see lots of great logos up here and in pretty much all different verticals. Let me actually switch over and show you some examples on the Discovery Hub here. So bring up my browser and we'll bring up the phone. We're going to be doing some demos here shortly. So if you go to 8thwall.com/discover, you can see lots of amazing content that have been created by our developers and by our partners. And we've got a number of our customers and developers and partners in this room here today, which is really exciting. So for these featured projects, these featured projects, okay, well, let's pretend that didn't happen. Here's a Sam Smith Diamond's Spotify AR experience, for example, created by partner Powster. And for these featured project pages, you can go ahead and upload rich media like videos, images, You can even provide a link to a live demo, so you can get this in the hands of people out there. So the Discovery Hub has lots of great filters. You can filter by category or type. You can also filter based on projects that have live demos. So here is one example. This was created for Free Fire, a game with McLaren, and it has a launch button right here. So click launch, scan that with your QR code, and you can try this experience out for yourself.
And you're probably wondering, how do you get to that point, right? Well, Cloud Editor is one part of it. Another part is what we call our project library. So our project library is a collection of over 120 sample projects that are freely available to you. Even logged out, you can go to this page right now on our website. You can click through some of these examples that can showcase different features of Eighth Wall. Here we have all of the source code for the project available for you to click through and read about, copy and paste into your own projects as you see fit, as well as READMEs which explain how to use the project, like a nice preview of what it is. And of course, the two most important parts, you can try it out right now on the page, any of these projects, to get a sense of if this is a good starting point for you, as well as using this as like a way to pitch or decide on what you want to create as a prototype. And of course, cloning the project, which immediately will take this and bring it into Cloud Editor and give you that great starting point that we'll show you in a second.
You can also filter based on like framework, based on type of AR tracking. You can search. And here's the project that we're going to be starting out with today for our live demos. This is an A-frame-based project called Tap to Place. Pretty basic. You just tap on the surface in front of you and it spawns 3D models. So let's go ahead and start building upon that. And we'll jump right in. Okay, so I have another tab here in my browser. This is the Eighth Wall Cloud Editor. So over on the left, we have the various files involved in my project. So we've got like head.html, where, for example, we can add in external libraries and different packages. App.js is our starting point, where we can load in our other scripts and CSS and things like that. Rigel, why don't we get this started and scan a preview QR code. So we have real-time previewing, where Rigel's going to scan the QR code. This is taking him to a private development URL for my project. And let's take a look and see what this project looks like before we start to make some changes. So there we go. Tap on the ground, and you can spawn cacti all over the room, which is pretty fun. And in today's demo, what we're gonna do a couple of different things. We're first going to add some 3D models to the scene. We're gonna add a robot 3D model with some gesture controls, with some animations. We're gonna swap out different assets, add some click event handlers, and that will be the world effects demo. And then Rigel's gonna take over and show some image target demos. So 12 minutes left. We can do this. We've got plenty of time. So let's just jump right in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up one of my scenes. And we have a couple of different HTML files with different scenes. And let's add a new 3D model. So I've got some assets, so I simply dragged and dropped them into the editor. And we're going to add a 3D model of this robot here. I can preview it in the editor. This robot has some animations baked in. We'll add those to the project as well. So first thing I'm going to do, we're just going to uncomment these things for the sake of time, but I'm adding our animated robot 3D model to the list of assets, so it will be loaded. And then down here, I also have this entity with an HTML tag. I can add this 3D model. So it's going to add the animated 3D model asset. It's using the animation mixer component, so it's going to play one of the animations baked into the robot. And we've got some gesture controls here, so we want to be able to hold, drag, two-finger rotate, and pinch to scale. Now, in order for that to work, I also need to add, I just kind of had this commented out, the XR Extras gesture detector. So this is a component that comes from one of the Eighth Wall libraries that provides a number of different tap, swipe, pinch gestures. And let's see here, I also have the A-Frame Extras library, which is providing the animation mixer component. So all I'm going to do after making some of these changes, I'm going to click Save and Build. And this is going to rebuild my project in the cloud. And once that's completed, it's going to tell the phone to automatically reload. And you can see a log down at the bottom, kind of what's happening. It said it was starting a build and then completing the build. And you'll notice that the phone is reloading automatically here. So now we've got this robot, and Rigel can drag it around. You can make it, rotate it, size it. And you'll see it's like doing this little idle animation. Maybe we want to change the clip here. It's got one called Pockets, I think, where it's looking for keys in its pockets and different dances that we can switch. So really easy to make updates and iterate in real time, and the phone will automatically reload. And for debugging purposes, all the logs coming from my device are wirelessly streaming down to the bottom of the cloud editor. So if you want to add console log statements, things like that, it makes it really easy to debug. Okay. Next, we're going to swap out another 3D model. So we have this 3D model of a dog, and it's downloading it right here. We're on a little hotspot, so there we go. Took a second. So we have this 3D model, and in the scene, I'm going to swap out the asset. So instead of loading cactus.glb, we're going to load dog.glb, and let's do a save and build. Now, this is just going to swap out one asset for another. So once the page reloads, Rigel, when you start tapping on the surface, it's going to spawn a 3D model of a dog instead of the cactus. So again, a really, really easy way to use an 8th Wall project library template and then swap out, our image targets for yours, our 3D models for yours, our different assets. So this is fun, but we can make this better, right? There's no animations. You can't interact with these cute little 3D models here. So we're going to make another change here. And this is the script that's handling that tap place logic. It's basically getting a handle to the ground object. When you click, it's spawning a new 3D model. It's doing some things with rotation and scaling. And once the model has loaded, it's making it visible. It's animating it in, so you notice how it kind of pops up and animates the scale. What we're going to do here is we are going to add the CanTap class so the raycaster can interact with it. We're going to add the XR Extras hold drag component so that each individual dog 3D model can be moved around. And then I'm also going to, just for the sake of time, we'll add this all at once. We're going to add a click event listener to each of the 3D models so that when you tap on an individual one, it'll add the animation mixer and start playing animations in the 3D model. So we're adding a lot of updates here with a couple basic lines of JavaScript, save and build. It's going to update my project, tell my phone to do a hot reload, and we'll have the final version of our demo project here today. There we go. So if you spawn a couple of 3D models, now go ahead and drag them around. There you go. We can position them and drag them around. If you tap on one of them, you'll see that they start to animate. And this just has one clip that's going to play. So they're all going to kind of start animating. Okay. Now, if I'm happy with this, we're going to go ahead and land our changes. So I'm going to land this into the Cloud Editor's integrated source control. And I'm going to say, added robot and replaced cactus with dog. And we can go ahead and land and publish this immediately to the web. I can see a diff view of what I've changed, and we can go from there. So, Rigel, this is probably a good time. Why don't we swap over to the image target demos?
Sounds good. Great. Okay. So, image targets.
7 minutes.
All right. So we're going to showcase both flat and curved image target upload and usage. So to start with, we're going to need to upload an image target. And so if you go over here on the left-hand side, below the source control tab, there's going to be an image targets tab. You can see in our project we don't have any yet, but lucky for you, we've prepared, and we have some over here that we're going to check out. So one is this image of some coffee beans and a latte, and then that's going to be our flat image target. So let's start with that. I'm going to go ahead and create a new flat image target. I'm going to drag my mug target JPEG in. I'm going to hit next, and you always want to choose an image target that has a lot of great varied detail. And you typically want to test it on the object itself if you have it available to you, because that's how it will perform in real life. And so I'm going to create this, and it's going to generate a QR code that Tony can scan, and it will allow us to test immediately without needing to import this into our project or add any code, the quality of the target that we just uploaded. So this is really helpful for iterating quickly on different target types you might have just laying around. Of course, yeah, you can try it on the screen as well. And so from here, I'm going to go ahead and close. We're going to go back into our project. This time, he's going to go ahead and scan that preview QR code. Yep. And right out of the gate, what we should see is a purple cube attached to that target. So this is something that's in my scene. I'm using XR Extra's named image target. This is a primitive that basically sets it up so that anything inside of this tag is going to be tracked and attached to that target. But we can make this more fun. So I'm going to go ahead and change the cube out for a 3D model of a mug. And so what I'm going to do is add back the XR Extra's gesture detector, because we want to be able to rotate that mug around as Tony swipes his finger across the screen. And so here we're going to go ahead, hot reload. Now we've got a nice coffee-themed 3D model. It's interactive. That's pretty fun. But we could do better, right? We actually have a real cup of coffee here that I got from Pete's earlier. We're going to turn this into an AR masterpiece. So the next thing here is we're going to go ahead and upload a conical image target. So we're getting fancy now. So we were skipped over cylindrical altogether, and we're going to go straight for a coffee sleeve. So here is my Black Cat coffee sleeve. I'm going to go ahead, upload this. So we call this like a rainbow image. So this would be like the sleeve if you'd unwrapped it and laid it flat on a table and you'd taken a picture. This is what you upload. We've made this really simple. You don't have to do any math, I promise. You can just drag these sliders around to align the top and the bottom arcs of this rainbow image. All right, so that looks pretty good. Next, we're going to crop our image target. Also looks pretty good. And just like before, this will generate a QR code that we can test immediately on the cup of coffee. And just a word of warning, there is coffee in here, Tony, so.
Okay, I'll be careful.
Cool. So this should be working immediately, but you probably noticed that it doesn't look quite right. That's because we haven't told it how curvy or how conical this coffee cup is. And there's a couple different ways you can do this. If we had the measurements, you can take a little tape measure and measure around the outer edge. And that's pretty simple. But what if, again, you don't want to do any measuring, right? You've just found this coffee cup and you want to make it AR fast. So we have this slider. This is like the curviness slider. And you can actually just kind of eyeball this. And Tony, if you reload the page, maybe give it another reload. Oh, no, there it goes. Cool. Right, so pretty much nailed it, but I know the measurements ahead of time. So I'm going to type this in anyway. But yeah, it should be really easy and fast to iterate on something like this. We don't believe that you should have to, read documentation to understand how this works. So this looks great. So I'm going to go back into my image target project. I've got my coffee cup. We're going to drop in this fun primitive called XR Extra's curved target container. And when I hot reload here, oh yeah, you need that QR code. What this is going to be doing, you'll see in a moment, it takes the curviness that we input a moment ago, and it generates an entire container inside of it, kind of like a portal that has space, that occupies the space within the coffee cup. And then it generates a bunch of hider materials and stuff. But this was just something that we found as we were working on curved image targets. It's just a really fun kind of foundation for adding stuff in and around an object. And so but that's not all, because of course we still have our flat image target still in our scene. And if you can fit these in the same frame at the same time, look at that, you can still track both of them independently of one another. If we had the cacti, you could place the cactus too. It's a bit of phone juggling, but it is kind of a fun trick. Cool. With 45 seconds left, that's what we got for you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So just to recap, we've done an overview of the 8th Wall platform, talked about the Discovery Hub where you can feature your work, shown you the project library where you can clone templates to get started, and we've given you live cloud editor demos for both world tracking and image target experiences. We're pretty much out of time, so we really don't have time for questions, but anybody who has questions and wants to talk more, we can just have conversations outside the room, and we're happy to chat. So thank you all for attending, and enjoy AWE.
Thank you.